Abidjan, Cote d'Ivoire. Aqua United win one away from the maiden Nigerian Professional Football League. Discussion on this and many more will be yours in a jiffy when we do return back from this short break. It is day 6 at the Tokyo Olympic Games, where action has actually been on for 3 days before the official opening ceremony that got underway on Friday. And after 6 days of competition, action at the Olympic Games in Tokyo, Japan, Nigeria's quartet of Olufunke Oshonaike, Olajide Omotayo, Uche Eke, and Edem Effiong have all been sent packing from the Tokyo Olympic Games. And today I have with me Merit J, our in-house sports analyst. Merit, nice to have you back.
It's nice to be here after quite a long weekend in terms of sporting activities, because there were a lot to keep track of.
Talking about the lots to keep track on, for us here, we are keeping track, especially on Team Nigeria, where 4 of Nigeria's hope in table tennis have had to be sent home after just about 2 days of competition, if you ask me.
It's not the kind of news we want to hear. It's not the kind of performance we expected to put up at the early stages of the Olympic. We expected our athletes, especially in the table tennis, to go further than they have done, but it's the reality of things. 4 of our athletes are actually out. We should be expecting them back in Nigeria or back to their various destinations in a couple of hours.
Talking about athletes, we've had them all crash out in the early stage of the games. In table tennis at the Olympic Games, I told you Effiong Edem, Funke Oshonaike. But talking about Funke Oshonaike, she lost 4-1 to Liu Juan of the United States of America, while Omotayo was beaten 4-0 by Portugal's Thiago Apollonia. It looks like a wide margin of defeat in table tennis.
It's quite a wide margin. When you lose by four sets to love, you don't even get a single out of the game. It's a disappointing encounter. And when you go close and then you check the scores within the set, it's not even close. It's like 11-2, 11-4. That's a very wide margin. It was an easy victory for the opponents. Bad defeat for our Nigerian athletes so far at the Olympic Games. I think we just have to come back and start preparing for the next Olympic Games, because when you come against opponents from the United States of America, from China, from other parts of the world that have been preparing for the Olympic Games, not by a matter of months but by a matter of years, then this is the result you get. They were well better prepared than our athletes, and it showed on the night. The gap in quality also showed on the night.
Talking about showing on the night, after defeating Hungary's Dora Madarax 4-1 in the first round of women table tennis singles at the Games, Nigeria's Effiong Edem was at the receiving end earlier today, as she lost by same margin 4-1 to Li Zhang of the United States in round 2, and that's looked effectively the end of the road for her at the Olympic Games.
The end of the road for Dora. She got her first victory in table tennis, defeating Dora Madaras of Hungary. It was a good victory because it was a dominant performance from Effiong Edem, and after the victory we thought it was going to be likewise. It was going to be the same in the round 2. She was coming up against Li Zhang. Li Zhang, better player than who she faced in the first round, Dora Madarash, and the quality showed. But for Odiom Effiong, I think she has given us the best representation in table tennis so far when you compare her results to the other results that we got from Funke and Omotayo. It wasn't. She had a dominant display against Dora Madaras. She came into Game 2 against Li Zhang. She fought well in the first set. After the first set, then things went south for her. She couldn't replicate the same performance, and then sadly she had to lose by the same margin that she won Dora Madaras in the first round, and it's out of the competition for Effiong Edem.
Sad can only be the word to be used in terms of 4 Nigerians in the table tennis event that had been sent packing. And in gymnastics, Nigeria's entrant Uche Eke, everybody looked up to to her to him taking up a very good performance, being the only entrant, and of course not based here in Nigeria, should have been preparing well. But he failed to make the second round as his apparatus results an all-round score of 74 .765 could not take him beyond the preliminary rounds.
Couldn't take him beyond the preliminary round. But when you talk about gymnastics, it's a traditional sport for the Asians and maybe the Eastern Europeans, where you see the likes of Ukraine and Russia take part in gymnastics. It's not a very popular sight to see a Nigerian or even an African competing in artistic gymnastics. So I think it's a good one for Uche. He's quite a young lad. He's appeared as his first Olympic Games. He did not finish bottom of the list when you look at the rankings, but his ranking was not enough to get him into the quarterfinal spot, and that's why he has crashed out. He put up a good performance in the pommel horse. He put up a good performance in the parallel rings and the parallel bars as well. Even on the floor, he had some good performance. I think it's just in one discipline that he didn't quite make the cut. But in the others, he finished in the ranking points with some good points, but not enough to get him into the quarterfinals, because just his first 24 progressed to the quarterfinals, and he was way down that number. So it's better luck next time for Uche Eke. I know he has come a long way, training in the United States of America, getting himself prepared for the Olympic Games. This should be a learning experience, a springboard for him. He will come back better. I believe in 2024 in France, we should see a better Uche Eke in the men's artistic gymnastics at the Olympic Games in 2024. And hopefully not just him, maybe another Nigerian athlete as well.
Talking about HB on the side of Eke there, he definitely will come back by the grace of God in France 2024. And talking about Nigerians, who have to crash out, we've had a lot of, we've talked about 4 crashing out in table tennis, of course, in the gymnastic, 1 has crashed out. Earlier on, we saw a Nigerian rower, Esther Tokyo, equally crashed out because she finished 3rd in the semi-final of EF with a time of 9 minutes, 7.70 seconds. We qualify her only for the final E of the women's singles course. However, she's not in contention for a medal in the event, but her ranking seemed not to have improved that much after that repechage game. When you read in the news and then you see that she's qualified for the final E, some people might think that it's the final, so there's something at stake. But there's really not much at stake in terms of medals. She cannot get her hands on any medals because she did not qualify for the quarterfinals of the main events. The EF events, they have an AB ranking, they have a CD ranking, and then they have the lowest of them all, which is the EF ranking. If you qualify for the AB ranking, then you have an opportunity. AB and C ranking, you have an opportunity for a medal, gold, silver, or bronze medals. But when you qualify for just the D, E, and F, then there is no opportunity to win a medal. But on the other hand, you have the opportunity to better your rankings in terms of the world rankings when it comes to the game of the sport of rowing. And she will have the opportunity to improve on her rankings, but not by very much, because she's competing in the final E. If she was in the final D, then we would have seen an improved ranking. But in the final E is just a level above the final F, which is not very, very large in terms of points. But she will have the opportunity to get at least, it's not all doom and gloom, at least she can improve on her current rankings, depending on where she finishes in the final E. So it's a learning experience. She's just 21 years of age, appearing at her first Olympic Games. We've seen instances. Single entrant for Nigeria in the race.
The only rower we have at the Olympic Games. It's not a very popular sport, but we believe that with her performances, with the frequency of her competing at the Tokyo Olympic Games, we might see more rowers, more people, more athletes pick interest in the sport, and we might qualify more rowers in the coming years.
Well, talking about Nigerians who have crashed out at the ongoing Tokyo Olympic Games, we told you 4 female table tennis players have crashed out. In the gymnastics, we've seen an athlete, a team member of Team Nigeria crash out, and the same thing for rowing as well. With Nigeria entered actually into 10 sports at the Tokyo Olympic Games, and we've seen some crash out in table tennis. I mentioned to you gymnastics, rowing, and now in badminton, Nigeria's duo of Godwin Olofua and Onu Oluwapo Opeyori lost 2-0 to Japan's Yuta Watanabe and, of course, Hiroshi Endo in their opening Group B fixture of the men's doubles event. And talking about these two, they'll be hoping to bounce back from defeat when they take on Denmark's Kim Astro and Anders Rasmussen.
That game has actually ended,
right?
And it wasn't a good turn of fortune for the Nigerians, because they still lost 21-7, 21-10. That's 2-0 once again against the Danes. So it's effectively down and out for the the Nigerian duo in badminton. You have just a couple of games to play in the group stages. They've lost the first 2 group stage games, and it's really difficult now to see any headway for them going forward into the competition. Badminton is a sport where Nigeria has shown some sort of dominance on the African scene. We know we have some of the best players when it comes to badminton on the African scene, but then on the world stage we've not done so much, and judging by the results we've gotten from the Olympic Games so far, it doesn't look like it's improving anytime soon. Maybe sometime in the future, but not yet, not at the Tokyo 2020 Olympic Games.
Well, 2 more badminton players from Team Nigeria, of the Team Nigerian contingent, having crashed out there at the Tokyo Olympic Games. But still in badminton, Dorcas Adesokan suffered a 2-0 loss of 21-10 and 21-2 at the hands of Spain's Clara Azumendi in Group C of the women's singles. She will have to play Korea's An Se-young in the second game, and that match comes up tomorrow, Merit?
Yeah, and when you talk about the badminton, the sport of badminton, you know the Asians are favorites. They are really good when it comes to badminton. She has lost to a Spaniard, Arismendi. And like we've said in the table tennis events and for athletes in table tennis, and also for the doubles, the male players in the doubles event at the badminton, the score line is not encouraging at all. If it was something close, maybe 21-17, you'd say, okay, you have a fighting chance to improve in the next fixture. But then when you're looking at the score of 21-7 in the first set, 21-2 in the second set, there is nothing to take solace in there. It's an empty performance from the Nigerian athletes, and it's a poor performance. When you consider the fact that you've lost against the Spaniard and you're going up against the South Korean, it leaves little to hope. There is little or nothing to hope for. Maybe she just goes there. If a miracle happens, perhaps she's going to get a good result against a South Korean or opponent, but I don't think that miracle will happen on Tuesday.
Well, difficult to expect a miracle to happen on Tuesday in badminton. It will mean that 3 representatives of Team Nigeria at the Tokyo Olympic Games in badminton will be heading home any moment soon. Earlier on today, Nigeria's sole representative in Taekwondo, Elizabeth Ayanacho, lost 12-7. That's to Turkey's Nurtala in the round of 16 of the women's 67 kg event. However, there seems to be some ray of hope, because despite the loss, Elizabeth Ayanacho could still have a shot at the bronze medal if Tala progresses to the final. Elizabeth
Ayanacho, another athlete appearing for the first time at the Olympic Games, for the first time at the biggest stage of sports competitions. I saw a video clip. She was interviewed, presumably by her coach, Chika Chukwumereje, before the match, before she took to the mat, and she was asked if she was feeling nervous ahead of her first appearance at the Olympic Games, and then she alluded to that. And if you judge from her body language, she was quite nervous. It's the first time she's appearing at the Olympic Games at such a tender age. She knew that she was coming up against an experienced Noor Tata in her first bout, round of 16 bout. She actually played her first bouts in the round of 16 because of her rankings going into the tournament. She had a pretty good ranking going into the tournament. That's why she did not take part in the preliminary round. It was straight to the round of 16 for her. Like you said, all hopes not lost for Elizabeth Ayanacho. She could still have a shot at getting bronze medal for Nigeria. That's depending on the progress of Noor Tata, of course. And if all things being equal, if all things go her way, I think that we will see a better performance from her in her next fight. This is her first fight at the Olympic Games. It's normal for young athletes to feel nervous, and it got a little bit too much to her.
Very young, but she has age on her side, and we hope she'll be back in France for France competition in 2024. And let's still look at how Nigerians are performing at the Tokyo Olympic Games. In basketball, Nigeria's men's basketball team, the Tigers, opened their Olympic account with a 17-point loss to Australia in Game 1 of Group B. And it looks like a match where Nigerians had hope, but the fourth quarter didn't do us any favor.
Fourth quarter didn't do us any favor. If you went through that game, in the first quarter, we were tied on points with Australia, which looked like a good performance. We started very well. Tied on points, 23-23 for the first quarter. In the second quarter, we lost by just 3 points, 23-20. That means we went to the halftime, just a 3-point deficit. But then things went really bad in the fourth quarter. In the third quarter, it was still just 3 points. Australia 15, Nigeria 12. And so we had a 6-point deficit, which it wasn't impossible to overcome in the fourth quarter. But then the team seemed to have capitulated in the fourth quarter, losing by a whopping 11 points in the fourth quarter. And then if you add 11 to 7, that's a 17-point deficit that we had. The fourth quarter ended 26-15 against Team Nigeria. We knew that it was going to be a difficult task to defeat the Australians, considering the fact that we played against them in the tune-up fixture, and they did not field their first team, yet they handed us quite a huge defeat in the pre-games. But then it was just the pre-games, and we were optimistic going forward into the Olympic Games. The margin of defeat in this game was not as much as it was in the pre-game, so maybe that's the only solace we have. But the reality of the matter is that we've lost our first game, which piles more pressure on the team to get a good result in the subsequent games. We play against Italy, we play against Germany, and any loss in any of those fixtures put us on the back foot. We might not even make it to the later stages of the competition, but if we can hold our own, we've seen this D Tigers team defeat Argentina, they've defeated the United States of America, although it's just in pre-games as well. But one thing we've learned at the Olympic Games so far is that the performances, the teams seem to carry on from the pre-games into the main events, because we've seen winners in the pre-games winning the main event, and those teams that did not perform so well in the pre-games performed badly in the first games at the Olympic Games as well. It was a game of, should I say, tactical brilliance or masterpiece from both coaches, because if you look at the starting lineups for both sides, the Nigerian team and the Argentines, not very many points made by those who started. The game was basically won by players who came off of the bench. Patty Mills came off the bench for Australia and scored a whopping 25 points. For the Nigerian team, we had KZ Okpala, we had Josh Okogie coming off from the bench to score 10
I was going to talk
points.
about Josh, who came on and I think gave a very good account of himself.
Josh came on and scored 11 points. We had Obi Emegano, who came on for the bench and scored 12 points. And Jordan Wara, the Milwaukee Bucks, the NBA champion, the latest NBA Nigerian
When you ask me,
NBA
Jordan
champion.
looks like the best player on the night. He seemed to get it better. It was close. It was close. If you ask me, if you compare what happened in the first match, exhibition game, just a couple of days before they went to Tokyo, and this one ended 84-67 in favor of the Bombers of Australia. The Tigers of Nigeria has another fixture against Germany in the second game coming up on Wednesday, the 28th of July. I'm very sure that it should have some good fortune. Australia clearly highly ranked well over the Tigers in the world basketball.
World number one going into the Olympic Games, and they've proven why they're world number one. Nigeria, on the other hand, ranked world number 4, some ways off of Germany. No disrespect to Germany, but when it comes to basketball, they're not the best. We know how good they are and efficient they are when it comes to football, but not the same fortunes in basketball. We should be able to learn. We should be able to pick up ourselves from where the results we got in game 1. We have some fantastic players. You've talked about Jordan Wara. There was also Precious Achiuwa, who started the game and was our best scorer from out of the 5 that started the game. He scored 10 points and gave a lot of 6 rebounds as well in that game. So banking on the experience of these players, we have a lot of them playing in the NBA. They've played well for their teams in the regular season, in the off season. We have an NBA champion in the mix there, Jordan Wara, who has always put up a good representation for Team Nigeria whenever he's called upon. Riding on the performance and the experience of these players, we should be able to get the win over Germany. We know that there are no easy games in the at the Olympic Games. We've seen upsets from teams that are minnows in quotes coming into the Olympic Games, but they've put up good performances against stronger opponents. So we take nothing for granted. But from the results we got in the pre-games, in the exhibition matches, and from what we've seen in game 1, we should be able to build momentum from there. And I think we're going to get it over Germany.
While some athletes have returned home, we still have Team Nigeria with basketball action. I'm very sure that with a win against Germany, they will continue and, of course, win their 3rd game and, of course, move to the next stage at the Tokyo Olympic Games. We told you about 5 female table tennis players having crashed out of the Olympic Games for Team Nigeria, but their male counterparts get into action. And, of course, the hope of every Nigerian and Africa is on Haruna Quadri. He will face Brazil's Gustavo Tisbel in round 3 of the men's single event. That match comes up by 2 a.m. Nigerian time. It will be nice to keep awake to watch this one.
Definitely 2 a.m. tomorrow. It's going to be a nice. I think it's going to be a nice fixture to watch for Nigerian supporters. We're finally going to see Haruna Quadri, who showed us the hopes of Nigeria, not just Nigeria, the hopes of Africa when it comes to table tennis. Our top-ranked player in table tennis on the African continent. Going into the Olympic Games, he is someone that has competed in previous Olympic Games. He competed in Rio, he competed in London in 2012, and he held his own, getting as far as the quarterfinals. And he's hoping this time around to get over that quarterfinal mark, make it to the semifinals. And once you make it to the semifinals, there is an opportunity for you to grab a medal, whether gold, silver, or bronze. he has the quality going in. He has prepared really well, coming off the back of African championships in previous years and good performances, medals from the Commonwealth Games. Against the Brazilian Suboy, I think Aaron Akwadri is in for a shout. We might see I hope that we see a dominant performance from Aaron Akwadri, because that is what gets you in the mood for the next fixture. If you record a dominant performance against your opponent, that means you spend less time out playing. There is more time for you to rest, less concerns over fatigue, and it builds up your psyche. It gives you that feeling of dominance going into your next game. You've won it easily in the first game. You're going to put up a good performance in the second game. So best for Aaron Akwadri to handle things quite easily. And maybe before 4 a.m. Nigerian time, we should have first win going forward into the Olympic Games in men's table tennis.
Men's table tennis, Nigeria versus Brazil, comes up at 2 a.m. Nigerian time. Still, we are matches coming up early hours of the morning. After that 2 a.m. fixture, you can as well be part of the 5:40 a.m. fixture, and this time not in tennis. It will be in the female basketball, because Nigeria's the Tigress, they will square against their counterpart from the United States of America, that's Team USA, and this looks like a tricky fixture.
Very tricky fixture, and it will be a fixture that has a lot of things. It will have a lot of emotions. It will have a lot of tactical brilliance. We know both managers are quite good on
the male basketball team for United States of America lost their first game, remember, to France, and the hope of the United States of America now will be on their team, their female team, Team USA.
And likewise for Nigeria, we also lost our first game. So our hopes also for the Tigers, we're looking forward to them to better the performance of the male counterparts. And also remember, just a couple of days ago, or should I say weeks ago, these two teams competed in an exhibition game. It went the way of the Americans. So there is an added motivation for the Nigerians. You've lost in your last fixture, your last exhibition fixture, you lost against the USA. So the D Tigers will want to put out a statement and say we're not minnows. They want to put out a good performance, a good representation of themselves. Remember, there's also the controversial issue of the 3 Nigerians not being included for D Tigers, talking about Nneka Ogwumike, Elizabeth Williams, and Chiney Ogwumike as well. We had hoped to see this.
Let me just pick you on that. We had reports of some countries that Nigeria will play at the Olympic Games behind the rejection by the Court of Arbitration of Sports, the appeal by these 3 female basketball players for Nigeria. And a lot of people really poked the United States of America as being behind that rejection order by appeal by the Court of Arbitration of Sports.
The United States, we know them as a dominant nation. They always want to dominate, whether it's in sports, politics, science, technology, whatever it is. And we've seen them dominate really in basketball, in sports. When it comes to women's basketball and the men's basketball, of course, they want to continue that dominance. So you can understand why all fingers are pointing to the United States of America. Of course, these ladies had represented the United States of America. And for some odd reason, they have never picked, especially Nneka Ogwumike, for the Olympic Games. They've taken her to the FIBA World Cups, but never to the Olympic Games. In 2012, they dropped her from the list. In 2016, she was dropped from the list. Again, in 2020 or 2021, she was dropped from the list, not making the American contingent, and she decided to turn up for Nigeria. Knowing the quality that she brings, I think that is why, if it's actually true, that is why they went maybe behind the scenes and then talked to FIBA not to allow them play based on the rules. We know that she is an MVP in the women's...
Don't forget, $10,000 were collected.
Oh, yes. She is an MVP in the Women's National Basketball Association. That's the opposite of the NBA in the United States of America. She has won multiple titles with LA Sparks. Likewise, Chiney Ogwumike, who won the MVP just a couple of days before the NBA finals in the WNBA. So going into the Olympic Games and knowing that those players with such quality will play for Team Nigeria, it almost took all the chances away from the Team USA. And I think they will be smiling. They will be really happy to see, should I say, a weakened Team Nigeria. We know we have a lot of quality players, but then when you add the likes, it's like bringing in a Kevin Durant, a James Harden, and a LeBron James to strengthen your team. That's what we were hoping for going forward to the Olympic Games, but the politics of basketball, the politics of sports found its way, and then unfortunately we will not have them at the Olympic Games, despite spending a lot of money at FIBA. It's such a sad thing.
It's a very sad development there, but we trust the girls. They'll be in action, that we told you, at about 5:40 a.m. But closely following that early hours of the morning games, we will see badminton in action, because Nigeria's duo of Godwin Olofua and Anulu Wakpo Ogbeyori will lead Nigeria's charge against athletes under the flag of Russian Olympic Committee in the second Group B game of the men's double event. They have a chance, and that one will come up at about almost 11 a.m. Nigerian time.
The Russians are very good athletes. Whatever sport they compete favorably well. Sometimes
the Russians clearly are the second best when it talks of performance at the Olympics.
Yeah. Sometimes they perform very well, sometimes naturally, sometimes under the use of influence and banned substances. We expect a tough one. We know that Opeyori and Godwin Olofua, they've lost 2 games now. They lost to Denmark and they lost in the opening game as well. Going forward against the Russians, we will keep our fingers crossed. I don't think it's going to be a positive turnout for Nigerian contingent in badminton, but we're still hopeful. We're still hopeful. We'll never lose faith. We'll never lose hope. Anything could happen in sports. Maybe there is a doping test and then one of the Russian athletes gets suspended. Maybe there is an injury and then we win, or maybe they pick up for the form. They try to replicate the form we saw.
Too many maybes, and we're looking for misfortune of just another country for Nigeria to come up. But all of that. We keep our fingers crossed and hope that Team Nigeria will at least get to the medal or to the podium in one of these events. We told you that Nigeria is taking part in 10 events at the Tokyo Olympic Games. And we'll take a short break. When we return, we'll bring you updates on the game so far away from Team Nigeria. We'll look at how some other countries are performing at the Tokyo Olympic Games. Stay with us. Go! Come back. It's Sports Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network, and we'll be bringing you updates from the Tokyo Olympic Games. We'll fill you in with how Team Nigeria is faring. Unfortunately, not too good if you're a Nigerian, because a couple of athletes from Team Nigeria have had to crash out of the competition. But we still have some in basketball. We still have in badminton as well. We hope that by the time the athletics event come up, we'll be smiling as well. But for now, let's look at how some other countries at the Tokyo Olympic Games are performing. In basketball, it's been, do I say, very disappointing from Team USA of America. We've known them for a long time to be very dominant when it comes to basketball in the world, of course, at the Olympic Games. But this time around, France beat the United States of America's men basketball team 83-76 at the Tokyo Olympics yesterday.
Continuing from the poor run of form that they had in the pre-games in the exhibition. The exhibitions were actually played in Dallas in the United States of America. And then you thought they would have a home advantage, but not so much. They lost to Team Nigeria, which was the first in a series of shocking results for the Americans. And then they lost to the Australians, which was the first time they've ever lost in consecutive fixtures since the NBA stars started playing for the United States of the Dream Team of the USA. Since 1992, and that was a big deal. It caused a lot of ruckus in the American media. They were talking about it. They were talking about the efficiency of this team going forward into the Olympic Games. And when you look at the team, when you look at the roster of the United States of America, they have a lot of quality players in that team. And
yeah, but in this show, Team USA had an 8-point lead with 4 minutes left in the game.
Yeah, they had an 8-point lead with 4 minutes left in the game. And when you look at the results from the first quarter, they led by 7 points. At halftime, they led by 8 points. At the third quarter, they were also up by 8 points, like you said. And we expected them to carry on from there, but they capitulated in the final fourth quarter. Similar to what happened with Nigeria against Australia, the fourth quarter was a beast, a different beast of its kind. And we saw the United States of America trail behind to lose that game by 7 points to Team France. And when you look at the numbers that these athletes, these star players put up, you know that there is some sort of concern, a lot of worry for the United States of America, because when you see Kevin Durant putting up just 10 points in the game, just 10 points, that's his lowest tally in all of his 17 games he's played for Team USA. Remember, he was among the party that won consecutive gold medals in 2012 and 2016. He came with a lot of experience. A lot of the players were looking up to him. Also, we had Damian Lillard, who scored only 3 out of his 10 shots. And when you talk about Damian Lillard, he's a player that posts consecutive 40-plus points in the NBA without sweat. And coming to the Olympic Games, it looks like a different kettle of fish on his own. They are finding it difficult to navigate when it comes to their national team basketball. I don't know if it has to do with the synergy of the players, but it is a really star-studded lineup. Devin Booker is in that team. Jeremy Grant is in that team. Most of the biggest NBA stars, are in that team, but they're finding it difficult to hold their own against a French team who poses just, I think, two players in the French team playing the NBA. Talking about Rudy Gobert, who plays for the Utah Jazz, and Ivan Fournier, who plays for the Boston Celtics. And Fournier was able to put up 28 points in that game, the highest scorer in that encounter for the French national team. And they're moving forward with a victory. A victory in the next game gets them into the next stage of the Olympic Games. Meanwhile, for the United States of America, if they lose the next game, it's efficiently down and out for them.
Team USA of America, everybody knows them when it comes to basketball, especially Olympic Games. They won 25 games, on the trot. They had a winning streak of 25 games at the Olympic Games. And of course, this is their 26th game, and this is their first loss since 2004. So it's disturbing, but we hope they bounce back because we thought with at least 8 points and 4 minutes left, they would be able to round the game up, but they didn't do that one. And so we hope that they can. This is just the first game, and they hope that both teams will get back to winning ways. The loss is Team USA's first, like I told you, a loss in a very long time. And since the team, remember that's 2004, they lost to Argentina.
Yeah, in Greece, at the Greek Olympics.
In Greece, but let's stay away from Team USA and hope that they will bounce back in their next game at the Olympic Games. Slovenia, this is one country that's coming to basketball at the Olympic Games for the very first time, and they rolled past Argentina 118-100 in the Olympic debut earlier on today. We saw the team win Argentina there. It looks like a surprising result, and when you talk about Slovenia, and if you follow the basketball in the United States of America, one name that cannot get off your mind is Luka Doncic, because he scored 48 points on that one, and it looks like a record for the team in Olympic basketball.
It's a record for the team, record appearance at the Olympic Games. They've never played at the Olympic Games before, talking about the Slovenia's men's basketball team. And they're really led by this young man you've just mentioned, Luka Doncic. They are riding off his shoulders. He puts up consecutive, consistent, good performances for his team, the Dallas Mavericks in the NBA. He's the most valuable player for the team at just 22 years old. He was just drafted to the NBA in 2018, and in just a short period of time, he has been NBA All-Star twice. He has been in the All-Star first team twice. That shows you the quality that he has going into the Olympic Games. He single-handedly, if I should use that word, we know that it's a team sport, but then when an individual player puts up so many points, such a good performance for a national team, you have to talk about him in glowing terms. In qualifying.
It's besides, you talked about Doncic there. He's put up 48 points, and this is the second player in the Olympic basketball history to post as many as 48 points. I think the last time we saw someone put up 48 points in an Olympic game was way back about 45 years ago. And it looks very disturbing that this record has been there for this number of years. Nobody's come through it. And here we have a very young player who has come to put it up. The last time we had was, I think, an Australian who put up 48 points, like I mentioned to you, 45 years ago. So it looks like no mean feat for Luka Doncic.
Never a mean feat. You talk about players scoring a lot of points in club basketball, especially in the NBA, but not when it comes to national teams. In national team games, we don't see players score a lot of points because of the rotations, because of the selections. They have more frequent substitutions, shorter time for the players. But when you see a player putting up 48 points, that tells you he's out to prove he's out to prove himself. He's out to make a statement. We know that
this is his first Olympics.
His first Olympic Games. His first game at the Olympics,
and then first game for this country, for the country as well.
Yes, 48 points in that. Before then, in the last game in qualifying, when they defeated Lithuania to clinch that ticket to Tokyo 2020, he put up 31 points. And when you have a player that consistently puts up in that game, in fact, he had a triple-double in that game, putting up 31 points, 11 assists and 11 rebounds and 13 assists. In this game, he put on 48 points and 11 rebounds in this game. That's a massive performance, one of the best performances we've seen at the Olympic Games coming from Luka Doncic. We thought the Slovenians would struggle because when you look at their roster, they have just two very high-quality players. Luka Doncic, one of them we've mentioned, and you also remember Zoran Dragic from his time with the Phoenix Suns and the Miami Heat in the NBA. But They've been able to play as a team. They've been able to play the strength of Luka Doncic. They've been able to get an 18-point win over Argentina. Argentina, remember, were runners-up. They won the gold medal at the 2004 Olympic Games. When it comes to national team basketball, they're one of the strongest. They won bronze in 2008, and in the previous FIBA World Cup, they were runners-up. They finished with the silver in 2019. So they had a lot of strength and a lot of quality, a lot of experience, riding off the back of the 41-year-old Luis Scola, who has won almost everything when it comes to men's national team basketball. And it was an exciting performance, spectacular performance from Slovenia. All eyes will be on Slovenia and Luka Doncic now going forward to the tournament, hoping that they could be able to replicate this on a consistent basis now.
Luka Doncic breaking records or tying records at the Olympic Games, because Brazil Oscar Schmidt holds the single game record with 55 points set in the 1988 game against Spain. But Doncic's 48 points lead now has tied him for second place alongside Australia's Eddie Palubinska that entered into the record books in 1976. Let's hope that Slovenia will be good against Japan. That match comes up on Thursday, while Argentina will face Spain. Japan will also take on Spain later on today. Let's look at what do you expect of that one, Spain versus Japan?
Spain versus Japan. We know Japan, they are hosts, so the onus lies on them to represent their country. They're playing at home, so there will be much pressure on the Japanese team to perform. On the other hand, we have a very experienced Spanish side. Whenever it comes to men's basketball, the only teams that could be better or could be with a better shout than the Spaniards are the United States of America, and then probably the Australians from time to time. But when it comes to dominance in the sport, they have been one of the biggest forces. They won the FIBA World Cup in 2019 ahead of the United States of America, so that tells you the quality that they have. They boast the brotherhood of Paul and Marc Gasol, a lot of experience in that team. I think it's going to be an easy win for Spain. I don't think the Japanese will have any say in this game. Easy win for Spain, and then going into the next fixtures, Spain versus Argentina, Slovenia versus Japan. Slovenia should be able to, with what they played against Argentina, they should be able to get one over Japan as well. I don't think the fortunes will smile on Japan in basketball.
From basketball, we now go to developments around football at the Tokyo Olympic Games. And I can tell you that Andre Pierre Guignac scored a second-half hat-trick as France came from behind 3 times to beat South Africa 4-3 and keep their hopes alive at the Olympic Games.
It's a disappointing result from an African perspective, a disappointing result from a South African perspective.
They were leading 3 times in that scoreline of 4-3. They were ahead on 3 occasions.
And they lost the game in the final 8 minutes, because as of the 80th minute, South Africa were ahead 3-2. Between the 84th minute and the added time after the 90 minutes, France won that game 4-3. That's a disappointing result, if you ask me. And more disappointing knowing that France and South Africa were coming from a difficult position where they lost their first game to Japan by a single goal to nil. We thought, I said here that was a good performance considering the turmoil that the team had to go through. They're missing a lot of players. At least 5 players have been ruled out of the team because of the coronavirus pandemic. They got infected and they tested positive, and then they played no part. So the team was, they were shortened by those developments. And going to your first game playing against the host, a team as formidable as Japan, coming out with a 1-0 draw, 1-0 loss, it wasn't such a bad thing. But this result against France, I think it's the final nail in the coffin for South Africa. It will be difficult. I don't think they don't have a chance of progressing further into the competition, and it's sad to see one African team leave already just in game 2 of the men's football tournament. You don't spill a lead in a game 3 times. It doesn't happen. When you do that, then you get what's coming your way.
Elsewhere in football at the Tokyo Olympic Games, host Japan made it 2 wins from 2, beating Mexico 2-1 after their opening 1-0 win over South Africa.
They're through to the knockout stages, and that's what they want. That's what they want going forward. In football on the Asian continent, there is hardly any team that's better than the Japanese. They are the best when it comes to football from Asia, and they're showing it here at the Olympic Games. First victory over South Africa, second against Mexico. The Mexicans are never an easy side. Remember, they defeated the French side 4-1 in the opening game. And when you come off a game where you've defeated the world champions, in quotes, in men's football, 4-1, going into your second game, you go with a lot of confidence. You play probably play your best game at the tournament. But the Japanese were able to hold their own, and they were 2-1 winners over Mexico. It's good for them going forward. Mexico still have a chance. If they defeat the South Africans, which I think is very likely, they will progress to the knockout stages, and then it puts France now in a must-win game against the Japanese.
Well, the defending champions in the football event at the Olympic Games is Brazil. They were held to a goalless draw by Ivory Coast in Group D in a match that saw 2 players sent out.
It's a good result for the Ivorians, for Africa. Remember, this Ivorian team, they were resilient enough to snatch a 2-1 win off the hands of Saudi Arabia in the opening group fixtures. They went ahead, got pegged back by the Saudi Arabians, but the experience of Frank Kessie proved the deciding factor in that one. They won 2-1. Coming to the second group game against Brazil, a Brazilian team that bashed their previous opponents by 5 goals. We expected it to be a win. Most people expected a win for Brazil, but the Ivorians have shown that they have quality in the senior football team and also in the age grades, and that quality showed, holding Brazil, a Brazil side that featured Richarlison, who is now a record breaker at the Olympic Games, who scored the first half hat-trick in the opening group fixture. It's not an easy side to play against. They also boast the experience of the 38-year-old Dani Alves, who is the captain of the side. We know Dani Alves as a serial winner, so he's got a lot of experience going into that game, and that proved vital for the Brazilians, because at some point it felt like the game was going in the favor of the Ivorians. If not for the experience that the Brazilians had, it would have gone in favor of the Ivorians. But the Ivorians live to fight another day. They now have 4 points. Any positive result in their next fixture confirms their spot in the later parts of the competition, and that's what we want to see from African teams at the Olympic Games.
African teams at the Olympic Games, Ivory Coast do have opportunity to fight for another day and do qualify from that group. In the other report we had from Football for You on this edition of Sports Extraordinary, Facunda Medina gave Argentina their first win of the games with a 1-0 victory over Egypt. That's coming up in Group B as well.
Well, it was a difficult loss for Egypt. Good win for Argentina. We know Argentina lost their first game to Australia. And Egypt, on the other hand, put up a solid performance to deny Spain of a victory. They played out a goalless draw against Spain, a Spanish side that featured 6 players from the Euro 2020 championships. So, you know, it's a quality side, but Egypt were able to hold their own. And they were just about doing the same thing against Argentina, but unfortunately they fell to that late solitary goal from Facundo against Argentina. They still have an opportunity of progression. If they win the next fixture, then they might just make it to the later stages of the competition. And we're rooting for them. We're supporting our African teams at the tournament. We know that there is no football team, there's no Nigerian football team. The Dream Team are not there at these Olympic Games, so we are putting all our support, all our confidence and our hopes behind our African representatives, and so far they've not done very bad, but we need to see improved performances in the next fixtures.
We really need to see improved performance in the next fixture, because we're not getting it right now. If you remember that Nigeria was the first country outside of South America and Europe to win the Olympic gold medal in football, then you want to see another African country, after Cameroon as well, to win the football gold at the Olympic Games. But talking about football competition matches at the Olympic Games, Mikel Oyarzabal's late strike saw Spain beat Australia to open the account. We hope that this will be some of the things that will come the way of the Spanish side, because Burnley striker Chris Wood was again on target. We saw New Zealand in another fixture. They won in their first game. Now it's a 3-2 loss to Honduras. That looks like their fairy run is coming to an end.
One fairy run coming to an end, another fairy tale run continuing, because in football you don't usually get to hear Honduras as one of the top nations. Well, so far so good at the Olympic Games. They've won all their fixtures. They won their first fixture, and the second fixture against New Zealand, they've won it as well, 3-2. A resilient side. We've seen they have a lot of character and quality young players, if you ask me. So for them, the fairy tale goes on, but for New Zealand, riding off the experience of Chris Wood, he was the goal scorer in the first game that got them that victory against South Korea. He scored as well in the second game against Honduras now, but not enough for them to progress. It's better. That's why it's a team sport. It's better when you have teammates contributing and not just relying on one player. They've relied on Chris Wood for far too long. I think in the next fixture now against Romania, they have to look for a way to galvanize the team, to play as a team, get results as a team, and not just depending or relying on just one player.
Talking about Romania, they lost their first game because South Korea thrashed them by 4 unreplied goals and leaving all teams in that group on 2 points each. We hope that they will get it right. This been an interesting fixtures of games at the football event at the Tokyo Olympic Games. The results have been close, and we've seen situation too where there's been a wide margin. Remember, we talked about the female competition where there was 13 goals in one. So it's like in the Olympic Games where goals are not short on supply with the teams both in the male and the female category. We'll take a short break. When we return, we'll continue to give you tidbits around the Olympic Games, and it's been exciting. We'll start in Africa, where there's been some hope, ray of hope, if you ask me, at the Tokyo Olympic Games. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's Atlantic Sports Extraordinary here on Atlantic Television Network, and looking at the Olympic Games that is into day 6 in Tokyo, Japan. We've not had very interesting developments around Team Nigeria, but on the African scene, we having Tunisia winning for her first and only medal so far at the Tokyo Olympic Games, and the color of the medal looks very interesting. Mohamed Jaloubi settled for silver in men's taekwondo only on Saturday in the 58 kg after losing 16-12 to Italy's Vitalo Delle Aguila in the gold medal contest. First silver, not gold.
Yes, we should I say we now, because we're all
Africans
and
yes.
we support ourselves whenever it comes to the biggest stage at the Olympic Games. It was cheering to see him get that silver just on Saturday. That's they won after the official opening of the Olympic Games on Friday. So it was quite an early medal, quite an early appearance for Team Africa on the medal table, getting that silver in taekwondo, and it was a good fight. He came up against a tough opponent, but he was able to hold his own, reasonable points difference, if you ask me, and he was able to get that first medal for Africa. So Africa have a good representation on the medal table, although it's just one nation right now representing Africa on the medal table. We know that as the games progress, we will see more African teams on the medal table. Remember, the track and field events have not yet started, and we have it's something of a strong force for Africa when it comes to the Olympic Games. So we as the time goes on, as the day goes by, we'll keep seeing more African teams on the medal table.
Africa with our first silver medal coming from taekwondo. But you wonder why not gold. Yes, if you're an African asking that question, there's been a first gold medal for Africa, and it's coming courtesy of just an 18-year-old Ahmed Harfounei. He won that gold in the men's 400 meters freestyle swimming contest. This is Harfounei just about qualified for the finals with one of the slowest times. That's how he qualified. Yet coming up against some fast swimmers, recognized swimmers from the United States of America and Australia, giving Africa her first gold.
First gold medal, and what's an enthralling performance. He never had a chance going into that finals, but he was able to weather the storm, if I use that word, and he came to produce a superb performance. You can see from his face, from his reaction there, he was really elated. Likewise, his coach, and likewise the entire Africa.
He deserves to be elated because that was so close. All three, place finishers were separated by a second. That was really close. By
a second, and if you know how it is in the swimming event, a second is very close. Unlike in unlike what we see in motorsports, where a second is quite a big margin, but in swimming, it's a very close call. And when you look at the people he bested, the Americans and the Australians, when you go into the pool, the Australians and the Americans, sorry to use this word, they behave like amphibians, because
they are fish.
It's like a natural habitat for them.
Right.
We've seen them clear a lot of gold medals. America, of course, when you talk about America, you remember the great Michael Phelps smashing world record after world record, winning multiple gold medals at multiple Olympic events. Likewise for the Australians, of course, and that's what makes the victory very spectacular, because coming into the finals, he wasn't one of the best qualifiers. He just about got in. Should I say by a whisker, he qualified as with one of the worst times. So he was less favored. He started in lane 8, which was not one of the best lanes, if you ask me. Lane 8, meaning that he was just about the last qualifier for the event. And then going from bottom to top, it's something spectacular. and it's something that Hafnau will cherish for the rest of his life. Maybe he's going to go on to win more medals because we heard that he's still competing at the Olympic Games. Maybe he will turn up at many more Olympic Games, but being at your first Olympic Games and winning a gold medal against all odds, at the last 50 meters, he was actually behind the second place and the third
No, but
place.
if you know that he beat Australia to the second to second position by a second, and beat America to third position by a second, then you know how close it was for a young 18-year-old. He won that 400 meters event by 3 minutes 43.26 seconds, and it's really cheering for Africa, but especially for Tunisia. This is their fourth Olympic gold medal, and coming from an 18-year-old, it looks very. In fact, the whole of the country is agog and very happy. And if you know that this is the second youngest African athlete to win gold in swimming. The first at 18, he's won the second gold for Africa in swimming, and in the last 69 years, we've never seen gold medal in swimming coming, courtesy of an African. And here we have a Tunisian. In fact, the first one was by a South African swimmer. And of course, you know what South Africa was 69 years ago. But now we're having the second youngest, swimmer to win gold for Africa.
We've emphasized on the importance to catch them young.
Right.
And I think these kind of performances continue to prove us right. When you get young athletes, you get athletes that have probably more stamina. They have a lot of time.
Talking about catch them young reminds me of the fact that Hafnau actually was registered into a swimming club at the age of 6.
At the age of 6, imagine having an athlete register at the age of 6. That means
he's won gold at 18 years.
That means after 12 years of hard work, it is finally paid off with a gold medal at the Olympic Games. If you follow the sport of swimming very well, you know that a 400-meter swimming event is no mean feat, because you go back and forth
8 times
in the water. Yeah, 8 times in the water. If it's probably 100-meter, you just go once and then you return and then you're the winner. But when you have to go back and forth, it takes a lot of stamina, it takes a lot of strength, it takes a lot of experience, it takes a lot of good tactics and good judgment from the athlete, and that is what he has done. He wasn't the favorite going to the pool. At 350 meters, he was still behind his opponents. But in the last 50 meters, he dug in, gave it all he had, and it ended up in a gold medal. Like you said, Africa's second gold medal in the pool coming from an 18-year-old. It's a very cheering result.
After 16 years, we're having another gold in swimming coming from an African. The second youngest, we told you the first was by a South African that was at the age of 16. Now we have another one at the age of 18. Hafnau will again be in action. Let's see what medal he will get in the men's 800 meters freestyle. Tomorrow we'll follow him up and of course do report it here on Atlantic Sports Extraordinary. Let's now look at some of the spectacular record at the Tokyo Olympic Games. 13-year-old Nishia Mumiji won gold in the inaugural Olympic street skating ball leading competition to lead a line of teenagers to what is believed to be the youngest podium in history of Olympic Games. We talked about the 12-year-old the other day that could have been 11 years. Now there's a 13-year-old Nigishima who have written her name in the history book as the first female skater born to strike gold at the Olympic Games.
It's multiple records in one. We're seeing an instance where we have the youngest podium because they were all teenagers. The oldest of them all was 16 years old. The other two silver and gold medalists, 13 years old each. That's the youngest podium ever in the history of the Olympic Games. We're seeing the women's skateboard street event at the Olympic Games for the first time. And guess who the first winner was? A 13-year-old Japanese Momiji. It's tested, like we said, a teenager just won gold for Africa in swimming. A teenager has won gold for Japan at the first ever skateboarding, women's freestyle skateboarding at the Olympic Games. We talked about Hen Zaza a couple of days ago, where she appeared in table tennis for Syria at the age of 12, becoming the nation's youngest athlete ever at the Olympic Games, becoming the youngest athlete to qualify from Syria in table tennis, becoming the first female Syrian athlete to qualify for table tennis at the Olympic Games. A lot of records keep falling, and this is one that further buttresses our point, the need to cultivate these talents and also give kids a chance, especially female children, because in this part of the world we know that they're often being sent to the back when it comes to sports. Most parents don't want to hear about their female children going into sport. It's better for their male counterparts, but we're seeing female children, female teenagers breaking records at the Olympic Games, and what a way to do it. Not mean feats, if you ask me, because in that pool, we had experience there. We had a 34-year-old American.
I was going to get to that. A 13-year-old beating a 34-year-old, and that looks very cheering and hopeful for, of course, an example for kids around the world. Talking about Nishia, who won a silver medal at the 2021 championship in Rome. It has now secured the ultimate prize in sport after her unique blend of trickery. And we know that skill and consistency equally saw her win in that one. Records falling, especially for a 13-year-old and 11 and 12-year-old at the Olympic Games. Talking about 13-year-old Risa Lear, who is not only Brazil's youngest medalist, but the country's youngest Olympian, won silver with a score of 14.64, with a 16-year-old Nakayama winning the bronze medal at 14.49. I think this is an Olympic year for the youngsters.
Olympic year for the youngsters, you've rightly said it. We have a couple of young stars at the Olympic Games, and we also have a couple of aged people at the Olympic Games, of course, because but it shows us that despite, irrespective of the age, whatever age, whether you're young, whether you're old, there is an opportunity to shine. If you can do it, give it a chance. If you feel you can do it, give it a chance. We have also, while we're having 12-year-olds and 13-year-olds, we also have a 60-year-old at this Olympic Games. So that shows you that sports is for everybody. It comes across all ages, all sizes, all races, all genders. So there's no discrimination in sports. Sport is one event that has no discrimination whatsoever. If you're good enough at the end of the day, you get the win.
The International Olympic Committee, we understand now, has relaxed its rule on COVID-19 as athletes can remove their mask on the podium for photos for just 30 seconds. This is aimed at acknowledging a unique moment in the sporting career of athletes, according to the international body responsible for the Olympic Games. The athletes will, however, stay on their own podium step while their masks are off and replace their masks for group photographs. This looks good because earlier on we had health protocols that directed that all medalists keep masks on throughout the entire medal ceremonies that will take place at Tokyo Games.
It's a good step, like you saw there. Then these change had not been made. The athletes had the mask on their faces. And how do you explain to probably your child or your family member at home, what credibility do you have to say, I was the one that won gold? They can't see your face, so it's difficult. We know that your name will be in the history books, will be registered against your name, but then from just the picture, it's difficult to recognize who won the gold, who won silver, who won bronze. But now the IOC, which has been under good leadership under Thomas Bach, which has constantly shown support and care for the athletes, and not just for sports, not just for organizing of the events, has come once again with another good stride, if you ask me. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event. Most of these athletes might not get the chance to win gold, to be on the podium ever again, but this is their chance, and they need to have this.
Well, chances for athletes that get to the podium, you can at least remove your mask for 30 seconds and, of course, snap pictures and get back to your marks thereafter. Let's begin to run it up. And the Rivers Angels have started their CAF Champions League campaign on a very good note because they beat their counterparts from Ghana 2-0 in the very first game. And I think that's cheering. There's another match coming up, I think, on Tuesday. Merit, can you quickly take a look at that? They have to play their counterparts from the Niger Republic quickly.
They are going to play against AS the Police of Niger, and I think that's well, no disrespect to the Nigerians. They're not the strongest opponents in our group. The strongest going into the group was Hazakas of Ghana, and the Rivers Angels have been able to defeat Hazakas of Ghana in the first game, 2-0, meaning 1 goal in the first half, 1 goal in the second half, and a clean sheet to boot. That shows the quality in the side. They have won, dominated here in Nigeria. They're taking it to the continent with hopes of qualifying for the first ever CAF Women's Champions League in Africa. They're on a good path. Starting with a win is what you ask from your players in every tournament. Going forward into Tuesday,
I think a win is a good one to at least give them confidence to play against the lesser, stronger team in the group. And we hope if they get that one right, 2 teams will qualify from that group at the end of the day. And I hope it will be Rivers Angels at the top, not minding what we understand now. They've got into a $2 million courtesy of 2 goals, and I think that's a good one. But that's some kind of motivation. But they have to concentrate and keep their eye on the ticket at the end of the day. And quickly, Aqua United looks like a team that will take their hands on, keep their hands on the maiden title of the Nigeria Professional Football League, because they have 3 games to go, and I'm very sure that they can keep it with history. They beat Jigawa Golden Stars by 3-0 at the weekend.
They beat Jigawa Golden Stars by 3-0. They've looked like a team that would clinch their first ever MPFL title for quite a while. Ever since they went on a spectacular unbeaten run that ended in about 16 games unbeaten in the MPFL, every eyes, every attention were focused on Aqua United. And with the recent result against Jigawa Golden Stars when they won 3-0 at home, they are now just 1 win away from their first ever MPFL title. Meaning that if they win the next game, they win the title. If they can, and there's 3 more games to play for, possible 9 points. 3 out of 9 points, I think Aqua United will get that and wrap things up.
Aqua United needs 3 points to wrap up and win the league for 2020-2021 season here in Nigeria. Second place, Nasarawa United defeated Sunshine Stars 4-0 at the Lafia Township Stadium. And we're looking at other results. Adamawa United played 1-1 with Enugu Rangers. And Eyimba beat Mountain of Fire by 2-1. Highland played a goalless draw with Kwara United. Kano Pillars beat Abia Warriors by 1-0. It was Katsina 2, Dakada 0. And Plateau United played a goalless draw with Lobby Stars, and Warri Wolves beat Wiki Tourist by 1-0. I'm very sure we'll bring you more of these fixtures on our program and see how we told you that just 3 games to go. And with the 3 games, Aqua United needs 3 points out of 9. I would like to wish them the best of luck there. And we'll wrap it up now with our sports extraordinaire for today. And it couldn't have been any other person than Ahmed Hafnoui of Tunisia, the 18-year-old swimmer who won Africa's first gold medal at the Tokyo Olympic Games, and of course the second youngest African swimmer to win gold at the Olympic Games.
It's
after 69 years.
It's a huge record. I think it's a proud moment for Africa. And as much as it's a proud moment for Africa, it will be a proud moment for Hafnoui and his family. It will be something they cherish for the entirety of their lifetimes. It is not easy to win a gold in swimming when you're competing against more experienced people that have been to multiple Olympic Games, have won medals. And it's like you said, starting from the age of 6, starting training, all that 12 years of hard work, finally paying off.
It was in lane 8. He was actually in lane 8, and so that's a very difficult lane to win swimming if you are a swimmer. When you are placed in lane 8, it looks very difficult, but in midst of that, he triumphed and came first. And I told you, in 69 years, he's the second youngest African to win gold medal in swimming. That's much we can take for today. You can follow us on our social media handles, and Facebook and YouTube is at Atlantic Television Network, and on Instagram you can be with us at Atlantic TV Network. Thank you, and remember to stay with us and enjoy the rest of your day.
From the line across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all sport news